Howdy, howdy. We are live on a Friday night with a not just any old episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, but a season finale of all things to talk about. So, with not just me and Aaron, but with a very fun guest, Brandy Jackala is here. Or Jacola, as some people say.
You
I've
can
heard
say it
both are
either way. It doesn't
acceptable.
matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Good
matter.
options. So
Yeah.
nice. That's not how most last names work, but I like having
Choose
the
your own
extra
adventure.
option. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, it just depends on if you're Americanizing it or if you're kind of going with the original Finnish pronunciation or, whatever.
Would be like Yakala?
Jaakkola would be the original, or Jaakko, I guess, is how it started out, which is basically the Finnish version of Jackson. So,
I like it.
very
But,
common.
Nicola. You can do that. No.
Jaakkola. Yeah, I've done that myself.
But I'm excited. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I see some people are already talking in the live audience because Brandy is here. We get David Jackala in the live audience, so
Yes.
he's a fun get. So y'all have fun chatting with him, I think.
Oh yeah, he's always got thoughts, good ones.
Well, let's go ahead and get the show started. We'll just go around and say hi, and then play the intro. I'm Fatheree.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Brandy.
And how do I look?
You look strong. You look healthy.
Perfect. That's what I was going. Actually, I was going for confident, but in a creepy way. But I'll take.
Oh,
what I
I'm
can get.
sorry.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, let's do this thing. Tex-Trek, drawn to Trek. Y'all know the drill. Hit it.
Engage.
Welcome back aboard the Starship Texas for the 266th installment of the Tex-Trek podcast, the home of Star Trek fandom from deep in the heart of Texas, where we take a deep look at Star Trek old and new.
And the 22nd episode of Drawn to Trek, a Star Trek animation podcast from Trek Geeks. And I have a cold, so I'm just like a little behind on everything.
Aaron has a cold. I just realized I'm on my Wi-Fi instead of my Ethernet cable, which is unfortunate. But how am I sounding? Is there like any like weird pops or anything?
No, you're good.
Okay. Well, hopefully it stays good. If I start like popping and crackling, y'all let me know and we'll try to fix it. But the beauties of doing things live. But yeah, it's a big week, a season finale. So the last episode of new Star Trek we're gonna get this year, and for who knows how long.
It's sort of like a little bit of a respite for content creators, though, I guess. You can kind of look at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it in some ways it's kind of a problem when there's no new Star Trek coming out, because like at least if there's like a new episode every week, I don't have to worry about like what to do. It's like, okay, well now I know what to base my entire week around. So,
yeah.
I guess the uncertainty is what frightens me in the dark times between the shows, but such is life, right? But yeah, we're gonna
I think with Drawn to Trek, we've got a couple fun ideas, so we're gonna start planning those out.
Yeah, so be sure y'all are like following us on the socials. I know it's harder with the destruction of Twitter, but
yes.
We'll still have some fun stuff coming out in the near future. So
that's my thought, Brandy.
Yeah.
The look that Brandy gave me is my thought about Twitter.
Mm-hmm. It's basically.
Well, that's a lot of things beyond just Twitter. I guess there's a lot of things that have that expression over these days. But
yeah, most of them are social media things. For me, it's just I'm tired. I don't have time to keep up with all that. I just don't. I'm
It's
just
so hard because like I'm like, do I have to like put? I never use social media now because I'm like I'm gonna have to write this on 5 different places. It's just easier just like to not write it and just feel lonely and out of touch with everyone.
yeah, that's what I'm going for. I am an introvert, so that's kind of my base setting. Don't want to connect with people. Just leave me the hell alone for a bit.
Didn't there used to be something like, I think it was Friend Feed or something like that, where you could put it in one place and it would disseminate to all of your different socials or
I
something
don't
like
know,
that?
but I wish to hell someone would like develop that technology now because I really need something like that. So if there is an option like that, please.
Oh, now you've frozen.
Oh no,
Connect.
no.
Are you?
I'm
Nope.
ba-
There
There
you
you
go.
are.
back. Yeah, it might do that as if I say on my Wi-Fi. But I'll shut up in a minute and go switch that out. And but yeah, we'll talk about the season 4 finale, Old Friends, New Planets, written by May Darmon and directed by Bob Suarez in just a minute. Before we get into that, I just need to do a little bit of quick housekeeping and thank the wonderful Tex-Trek Patreon supporters. It means a lot to us when you're able to chip in with a monthly contribution like that, and it helps us keep doing a weekly live show. And to celebrate, we like to do a monthly watch party. So on November 18th, because Thanksgiving here in the United States, there might not be any new Star Trek that week, but we'll be watching old Star Trek with Charlie X, one of the rare time, maybe the only time Thanksgiving is ever mentioned in all 900 plus episodes of Star Trek. So
Yep.
that's kind of cool. I like that episode too. I'm a big TOS fan, so I think that'll be fun. We haven't done a TOS one in a while.
I'm trying to
Nice.
think of I think Thanksgiving. Yeah, I don't know if it's mentioned anywhere else. I know in TAS they have the Salem witch trials, so you get sort of pilgrims, and that's about
Yeah.
it.
Sort of pilgrims. I like that.
That's
I like
not
that
quite the
description.
same.
No.
That's pilgrim adjacent.
Yes, there you go.
So it's
That's one of those, like, if
Thanksgiving
you have to
adjacent
find
adjacent.
something. Yeah. That would be more like
Nice.
Halloween, I guess, actually.
Yeah, that'd be a good one for Halloween. But yeah, there's not like a lot of news this week. The actors strike is still. It sounds like there's a lot of pressure to get that resolved, but still striking. So for yet another week, I thought we were gonna have it solved before November. So
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The studios just want to starve all of the actors out, basically, so that they'll give in and agree to let them use their images and AI and crap. And that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. I'm sorry. They're not ever going to give in on that. And so, the studios are going to be the ones who get starved out, not the actors, because they
Yeah.
are united and they are strong and they should get what they deserve.
It feels like they'll just create their own system if they continue like that. Fine, we'll just create our own
yeah.
studio system.
Well, and for the most part, it sounds like they've caved on a lot of things. It's like kind of right now, it's more like the details, like streaming residuals and stuff like that. They're trying to iron out. So it is frustrating. But yeah, the studios have been. It's like if we could have avoided like all of the strike if they would have just gave like the writers what they were asking for at the
Yeah.
very beginning, and it would have saved a lot of
And-
people a lot of heartache. But
Yeah. Ugh.
Greed. It's
But
all
the-
down to greed and power. That's all it is.
But I guess Rod Roddenberry maybe found his dad's
I was gonna say, that's
3-foot Enterprise model. So
that's
we got
pretty exciting.
that piece of news. So more
Yeah,
to
my
come
friend-
on that.
Yeah, my friend Greg was actually like one of the first people to find the listing, and I was at a Halloween party, probably where I got sick, watching Attack of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space from 1988. That crazy fun. Like after a while, everybody notices that I'm just looking at my phone, and they're like, "What's going on?" Just like it's like they may have found the Enterprise model. I'm just like looking at it, and just it seems very. There's only one weird thing that I can't figure out is like the wood grain of the plaque on the bottom seems reversed, like it's a mirror image, like from like that's not possible the way it is though. So I don't know. They could have also replaced the plaque or the wooden base. And I think it's plumbed for electricity, which it wasn't originally. So that feels like something that people would have done like after the fact. Like, oh, they got this model. Now we're going to put some lights in it or whatever.
But it was
But yeah.
like screen used prop. It appeared.
Yeah.
I.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, like
yeah,
it
the
wasn't-
3 feet model. Yeah.
Like it was when the Enterprise got shrunk.
Yeah.
And Kirk is like looking. You have Kirk's face on the view screen, right, when he's like looking into it. That was the 3-foot model, and then there's like the publicity pictures of Nimoy and Shatner with it before the show aired.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember that one.
But yeah, it's.
Oh yeah,
I
we
mean,
get Nimoy's good. Like it's kind of I know what you're talking about.
it's a pretty ancient Star Trek relic. It's been around since before the original series aired, I guess. So.
Unfortunately, the person who put up the listing is not responding to people anymore. So we're hoping that it's not like being held hostage or something like that.
Let's everybody check their emails for a hostage note from
You're right.
the 3-foot model of the Enterprise. And if you get any messages from the 3-foot Enterprise, make sure you ask them, "Are you okay?" And hopefully, they'll be able to respond in some kind of code that we'll understand, like system malfunction. I don't know.
Kirk is a jerk.
Kirk is a jerk. That's the one. That's the one. That's the
Okay.
one.
That's the code word. That's the code
Yep.
phrase we're looking for.
Yep.
Well, maybe someone will just have to like steal it and run off with it, like Mariner with the Genesis device.
So awesome.
That was a fun scene. The whole
Yes.
it all just feels like a movie. It was
Mhm.
was done. That second part really felt cinematic. Now
Yeah.
I just started diving right into the discussion. Sorry.
No, it's beautiful.
There's not much else for news, so yeah, we can get into this episode. I can recap it by reading the official synopsis and then expand on that with spoilers as per the usual tradition. But the season of Lower Decks, Aaron and I have been noticing that these synopses have been very intentionally vague. It almost seems as if the people working on Lower Decks are kind of like annoyed marketing keeps, like wanting to like market the show to be like show off, things. So, but the
But they
synopsis.
don't listen to them sometimes. It's like they'll put more stuff out there than the directors and the creatives want to, because it's like, that happened last year, I think.
They didn't this week because
Nope.
this is the synopsis right here. Y'all ready for this? Okay,
Mhm.
spoiler warning, big spoiler warning. This is going to give away a lot, but an excellent season finale delivers plenty of laughs while tying up all the important plot and character arcs.
That's almost a comedic like bit in itself.
Yes.
That sounds like it was written by AI.
That too, yeah.
It sounds like it was written by like a writer who like, I don't want to describe this episode. I just want you to go watch it for yourself.
That's what they just should have done. Go watch it for yourself. That should have been the synopsis. That would have been fine.
Great.
It's the second half after part 1 last week and the cliffhanger with Nick Locarno, and basically he wants to do Nova Fleet and has a Genesis device, which we know is that's kind of like a big powerful weapon, and Mariner's like, no, that's too dangerous for you to have. I'm gonna go blow it up. And he's like, I'll kill you to stop you from doing that. And she's like, no, you won't. My mom will beam me back over to safety. And Nick Locarno just blows up by himself, kind of like Khan. A lot like Khan, actually.
So much like Khan. In fact, that whole thing in the nebula was so very Khan. Even the music, even the visuals. I
Like
loved
a shot for
it.
shot in some places.
Oh, I know. I loved it. I
You
loved
could
it.
put them next to each other and they'd be moving at the same pace and everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Brandy, since you loved it so much, why don't you give the first of our opening statements, just kind of give your broad impressions on the episode as a whole, and then we'll get into more details later in the episode breakdown.
Okay. Broad impressions. I loved it, obviously, and I appreciated how they treated everything, and I especially appreciated because I knew it was going to get said, but I like the way they did it. And that's, he looks just like Tom Paris. No, I don't see it. Seriously, they have the same face. They're like identical. nah, I still don't see it. Yeah, I loved
The fact that they broke it into two pieces actually made it funnier
Yep.
too, because it's like, oh,
Exactly.
they're going to mention it once, but then it comes back. So it's like,
Yes. Yeah, I appreciated that, and I loved how that was handled. Shannon Phil coming back, damn, that was amazing. I was crossing my fingers. And the animation was absolutely spectacular in this episode. The nebula, that area where there were all the ice crystals, the giant ice crystals, the ships. Oh my gosh, all the ships! So much ship porn for Brandy. So those are my general feelings.
we even have a new
Like,
class of micro steam runner or whatever. It's got a different name now. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
it's like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
the
small
Saber
steam
runner,
runner.
yeah.
Saber Runner. Yeah. So that was very, it was all just very exciting, and they stuck the landing for me. They really did. So but when have they not on a season finale? Not yet. So, and probably not ever, I hope.
That's cool. For me, I was really on board with the cliffhanger in last week's episode, and I like, I guess, most of the stuff that we got here that responded to the setup there. I just, in the second half of this episode, it got too into the Wrath of Khan. It felt like I've seen that movie homaged so much, and it's like, this is cool, but like, did we really have to do like Matara Nebula again? Like,
I think
thought
it's time
like,
to retire that now. This
yeah,
can
like when they were
officially
like
be
in
the last time.
the ice ring, like when they were like flying around like the ice crystals and stuff. Like, I almost wish like the climax had taken place there instead of the ion storm, just so it would have been a little more visually different. And I don't know, maybe you could do something cool with like the ice ring and like the Genesis device like going off. Maybe you could like pull like the ice down onto the planet, or make that in the oceans, or I don't know. Maybe that could have been like a cool thing in animation, but they didn't do that. But the overall story of just like Nick Locarno just basically like he was still only looking out for himself, and I kind of like that being like the villain of the story. But I kind of like that idea of like, oh, just we're like a fleet of equals. It's like, that is kind of like a cool notion. Like, I kind of get like that idea of like, yeah, like maybe we shouldn't all just agree to like this hierarchical structure. Maybe we should do something like a little bit more equal. So I kind of wish that they had like framed things a little bit more of like, Locarno's ideas and stuff like weren't bad. It's just he had selfish motivations. I just kind of it is in there if you're looking
He
for it.
also
But
didn't seem to be like, there was no social engineering of that situation. It was just like, we're going to
Yeah.
take all these people that don't normally get along and throw them together and they'll get along because they're lower decks. Like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah, but my hope is that we might see more of those other people. There might be something in season 5. So some of my opinions on that stuff is going to be kind of like yet to be determined. But overall, yeah, as far as like concluding the season long story and giving us like a satisfying ending with that, we could, I guess, have like another cliffhanger with like, Tindy's gone now. Like that was that stuff like really worked and connected. I in fact, like, I'm like really emotional whenever I watch like the end, like it gets like the end credits. I'm all like, yeah, Tindy, you got this. But I'm like, yeah, she's gonna be back in like 1, maybe 2 episodes tops. So then I was like, well, but I mean, who wants her to stay gone, right? We want her back on the ship, so everyone knows the show is always gonna kind of pull itself back to some level of normalcy.
Probably.
And then I have like some more thoughts we'll get into later on. But Aaron, what about you? What was kind of your general reaction?
Pretty much everything that everybody said. And I also like that Tom Paris.
They're identical.
Yes. He seems to be like, now when you look back, it's like, oh, that's the logical bad guy. It just sort of really makes sense with the, with the lower decks, and ties back to the episode lower decks and everything. And just, it also feels like it's a nice, like, this is where Mariner could have gone, but didn't. So it's sort of like this nice diverging path. And I think it's like, you get to see how much she's changed based on how much, like how she just completely reacts to him. So I thought that was great. I love the ice nebula thing. We mentioned that it's like, we wondered if the screeners were a little bit delayed because they were still working on the animation for that, because it was so fantastic. And I know they've done that up to, in the past, where they've like, we're polishing it right up to the last moment. It also reminded me of Star Tours a little bit. Or they're flying through the ice thingy. Yeah,
Yep,
the
that's
ice
fair.
thingy.
The ice, yeah, the ice thingy. That's what it is. The ice thingy.
That's
Never gave it a
Star
name.
Wars ride, right?
Yeah.
The Star
Yes.
Tours.
The
Disney.
original version. I don't think it's in the newer ones.
I never
I
did the
haven't been
original,
on the new
so I
one.
guess now I can't. I guess it's just been replaced.
You
by
can watch it
whatever
on
they have.
YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I've been on the original one many times, and now I'm at the age where I cannot go on it without having Dramamine first, because otherwise it just ends with.
Ugh. It's amazing how much that makes you feel like you're actually moving. But I love the flashback. I love that we got Cedo without them bringing Cedo back. So you don't lose any of that emotional impact of her death,
Yeah.
but she's still there. So that was cool. So yes.
Yeah, that opening with the 13 years ago at Starfleet Academy flashback thing. You're like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, hey, that's like right next to Aaron's apartment. I've been there.
I see the top of that building every day when I go for a walk in the morning.
But it was a lot of fun to see Cadet Mariner. I always wanted to see flashbacks of these people. Like I want to see them when they're like even younger. I want to know like what they were like in high school. Like what was Boimler like going to school? Like what was his relationship with like his parents and stuff? Like I need to see Boimler's family someday.
Yeah, we haven't really seen anyone from his family.
We went to the raisin farm and we didn't meet any. Like we met like all those girls that worked there, but
that were throwing
it.
themselves at him, and he was just like oblivious. I don't think he was oblivious. I just think he didn't care, and so he just didn't respond in the way that they wanted.
This also gives us a rough idea of how old Mariner is.
Yes. So
the youngest she can be is 29, basically.
And it looks like she's a second year cadet. She's got like 2 stripes on her collar. So I think that
So do we think that she joined when she was 16, or
if she joined when she was 16, that'd make her 30 in this episode, I think. She'd be a year older than, well, no, she's in the same class as Wesley, I guess, because they're both sophomores, so. But he could be. You don't have to because you can join at like different ages. We don't know. But we know. Yeah, she had to be at least 16. So she's probably like at least 17 here 13 years ago. So yeah, that'd make her 30.
That fits.
Yeah, that gives you time to like been around for the Dominion War, and I mean, like you'd basically be like around the same age as a lot of people on like Voyager, like Tom Paris and Harry Kim. They were kind of like the same age as Wesley Crusher. Also, they were, they would have been still. I'm sorry, they probably still like would have been in high school when TNG was on the air. Like Encounter at Farpoint was 7 years before Voyager, so Harry Kim 7 years before that, he would have been like in 8th grade.
Oh, got it. Okay, yeah. I'm like, wait, are they watching their own show? I'm confused now.
I just try not to think about how old people are because it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah,
it's just,
some people don't care about timeline stuff.
Well, the
some
fact
people
that
really care about it.
I think that Tawny can pull off doing the different ages, though. That's why I appreciated the fact it's like, okay, she can be kind of timeless in a way.
Yeah, and it was cool getting like they really didn't. In fact, they could have had someone who probably sounded closer to her original voice if they did just any woman voice actor would be like, hey, can you do like a youthful voice for like a college aged person? And they'd be like, yeah, I can do that, easy breezy. So, but it was cool that they got her in there, and it was cool to have Will Wheaton as Wesley playing it very different as
voice.
Yeah, he went like exaggerated, kind of like youthful instead of like. I liked that because it worked for Lower Decks, but it also made it stand so far apart from his Picard appearance last year in season 2 of that show. So,
where he came up showed up as himself,
as Traveler Wesley,
yeah,
who is very much like Ready Room host Will Wheaton.
Well, I feel like just my personal opinion on this is that I know some people were like, well, his voice didn't crack while he was on TNG. He was on the frickin' flagship of Starfleet. Of course, he's not going to let his voice crack. He's going to
Right.
be as dignified as possible. But now he's among peers at Starfleet Academy, and he's just being his own damn self. So
Yeah.
just let it go, folks. You don't have to
Well,
nitpick over things like that.
I don't think people were nitpicking over it. I just thought it was
Oh,
just
some
fun
were.
to see.
Some were.
Oh, were they? Oh, okay.
Some were.
I enjoyed seeing him do a voice that's like he's playing into the animated
Yes.
embodiment and everything. It just really it gave that Wesley a kind of a lower decks presence, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I appreciated that.
But I'm surprised that people. Oh well, I shouldn't be surprised because
Never
people nitpick everything.
never be surprised at nitpickers, and it's
It's
just,
also Star Trek. Nitpicking and Star Trek kind of go together.
yeah, I'm just one of those people where most of the time, I mean, sometimes there are things where I'm like, I can't get past this one thing, but 99.9% of the time, I'm like, I'm just enjoying it. I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's
also weird that I keep looking at this scene and like I know what that bridge feels like to walk across it and stuff like that. It's very odd.
I have walked
The
across
animated
that bridge
version-
as well.
Yeah.
when they go across that bridge, they get the line from Cedo that this, I don't know, covert starburst thing, whatever that is. I guess it's supposed to make us all be remembered as legends, but I feel like the only name anyone will be remembering is Locarno, and then that kind of comes back at the end of the episode to bookend it. But what do y'all think about when I guess we get to see Locarno explain like his whole fleet, his whole operation, the interior, like the Nova One with no carpeting. He's bragging about like his total lack of Starfleet carpet.
And wood paneling.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the wood paneling.
I noticed that they painted all the ships. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave him all a custom paint job.
That ship actually looks like the representation that was never used, I don't think, of V'ger from Sid Mead. It's got that sort of look to it, the outside part of it.
Oh, from the unused concept.
Yeah. I think they used it on the DVD menus or something. One of the versions of the like director's cut, I think.
Oh shoot! I didn't even notice that. Now I got to pop that back in
Because it has
and
like
look at that.
the electricity, through that little box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Didn't notice that. That's cool.
The inside looks very Kelvin universe in some ways.
And doesn't his chair look a lot like a throne to you? Is it
Mhm.
just me?
It's also looks like it can be raised independently. It's got like a piston or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I like that. It shows he spends way too much time overthinking like his presentation. Like it's all very like
Yes.
egocentric, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's actually what killed him. His ego killed him.
When he makes his like declaration to the, I don't know, galaxy wide or quadrant wide, however wide it was, I loved the reactions of Rutherford and Boimler, which was one of the things I think that would have been Rachel's theory last week, but someone me and Aaron were talking to about like how are they going to handle Tom Paris and Locarno? They have to at least acknowledge it in some way. So I like this option. I like what they did. I didn't want them. We were trying to figure out like how do you make it work? Like, are they secretly transporter clones? Are they like long lost twin brothers or something? And it's like Tom Paris spent 7 years on a show. Like we watched 26 episodes a year with that dude, and he never talked about having a doppelganger. So it was
Right.
There wasn't a good way to explain it. And I never liked the idea of like they're the same person with just a different name, because Locarno is always kind of more of a jerk than Tom Paris. Like Tom Paris never covered up the death of someone.
Yeah.
They always say that you have a twin out there. Everybody has a twin somewhere. It's like that's or a doppelganger. It's like it could be that kind of thing, where it's just like, oh, he looks an awful lot like him.
Yeah. I appreciate that the explanation is that there is no explanation.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. The explanation is sometimes in Star Trek the same actor has played multiple characters.
And they shine a light on it, but still don't explain it, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Brock Peters is really good as Admiral Cartwright, and he's really good as Joseph Sisko, and that's fine. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Move on.
Dr. Pulaski looks an awful lot like somebody from the 23rd century.
Yeah.
I know, right? I seem to
Yeah.
remember her showing up on the Enterprise, but she had a different color hair. So I mean, I guess you can change your hair color anytime you want in the future, but
And I do wonder, like the Trinars. I feel like they
Yeah.
must be. I think that might be set up for something in season
Like
5.
Joel said, the Trinars like polybinars.
Oh, is that their thing?
they're a throuple.
Yeah,
I feel like we're gonna get an explanation. I feel like they're a setup for season 5.
Could be, yeah.
And they're pretty advanced, so I don't know if they're gonna be like formidable foes or maybe they'll be good guys. Who knows? But I think they're gonna do something with them.
Well, yeah, they were responsible for that shield.
yeah.
And I like when they do that fleet-wide kind of montage thing where it's cutting to like all the different people that are watching Locarno's broadcast. We see like some familiar ships, but we also see like some just, I don't know, some weirdo ship with weirdo people we've never seen before. It's just like, yeah, like the Star Trek universe is huge. There's all kinds of people we've never met.
Yeah, and there was what's her name? Oh, I can't remember her name. The one who was the archaeologist. We
Alex,
saw
yeah.
her on her ship.
Yeah, the
With
one
some
I
other
always want to
people.
call Katniss Everdeen.
Yeah, that one.
No, but it's Petra Aberdeen. Not Katniss, whatever her name is.
My brain said Tetra. I'm like, that's not right. The Detrion system.
That was when Mariner
It's a
is
good
like,
freeze frame.
yeah, when she's like, this guy sucks, don't listen to him. He only cares about himself. I like that, like she's like out of focus for like the camera had to like when like she like runs up to the camera, it had to like re-find her and like refocus. It's like these auto-focusing cameras everyone on the internet is using.
That was great.
That was really funny. That just made it feel so realistic.
Yeah, it was so spectacular.
And I love her mom's reaction.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, she was very like hell yeah. I knew I could trust you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she basically just kicks the canister that the Genesis device is in, and she basically kicks it into Nick, grabs the Genesis device, and books it on out of there. And just it was spectacular. Loved it.
The animation was really good. And we have like kind of that cool moment where it's a very Star Trek trope, I know, but the brass is like, oh, well, you can't do this. I'm ordering you to not engage. And then the captain is like, okay, Cerrito's strong. We doing this to save Mariner. And then Boimler's like, all departments are saying, like, yeah, we're good to go. Everyone is on board with saving Mariner. But I gotta say, like, it is a very funny joke in Lower Decks. This might be like one of the funniest gags they ever pulled, in my opinion. When they had a captain who is like, listen, when we break orders in Starfleet, I know we're gonna get in trouble, and a court martial is guaranteed for all of us. Like I was laughing my ass off when I heard that, because I was like, no, that never happens. Y'all are gonna go save Mariner, and then the admiral is gonna be like, oh, well, I guess you did the right thing after all, and like no one's gonna get in trouble, and that's exactly what happened. But to be fair, I was kind of like rolling my eyes at it when we got to that part of the episode, but by the end, I feel like, okay, reestablishing diplomatic communications with the Orions, that actually is like a big enough win. That probably would get you a pass. So I was like, oh, they actually did like a little bit better job with this trope than I would have thought. So I should give them credit for it.
I love how much this season that Captain Freeman has become like the super competent captain, and just like finally, letting her command style show through.
Yeah, and I appreciate.
She's not trying to impress people as much. She's just like,
I appreciate that, and I, basically, Vassar was saying, you can't, this is a diplomatic situation. They're not members of Starfleet. We can't do this, et cetera, et cetera. And she says, I'm not going to sit around and wait for politician to decide Mariner's fate. And I'm like, hell yes.
Yeah.
Hell yes. Thank you. Do what needs to be done.
It's just, I felt this is where I started to have like a little bit of the problem with like with Nick Locarno's mission in the episode, where it's like, okay, like the show is showing me like, yeah, you can't always trust the establishment, you can't always trust the people in charge. Like sometimes you need to like go make your own choices and do the right thing anyways. So it's like I feel like it's kind of at conflict with itself then at the end when it's like, yeah, like I know like Starfleet messes up a lot, but like we still like need like this hierarchy system and we need to like follow orders and stuff like that. So I thought it was kind of like a weird pairing to do both those of the same episode.
That's the beautiful dichotomy of Starfleet, though, because it's everybody basically accepting that there are rules and knowing when you need to break those rules, because rules do not apply to every single situation. Those rules, of course, have been established over centuries from experience, what's happened with encountering other races, other planets, etc. So yes, all of those things are guidelines as to, mistakes that have happened in the past. But you can't judge every situation with that set of rules. That's why rules evolve, rules change, and sometimes rules have to be broken. And this is one of those instances.
Yeah, 100%. I like Jill's comment. Locarno is like the guy who peaked in high school and talks about his glory days for the rest of his life.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh yeah,
That's
Yes.
so perfect.
Okay,
Yeah,
can we just
the
go ahead.
fact that sorry, but like he's later when Mariner confronts him and is like, first off, you didn't graduate. When he's like, I graduated top of my class. I know how to disarm a. And she's like, no, you didn't even like. You got kicked out. Like you're not even like a dropout. You were like banished. You're like even worse. Like you're not even like last in the class. You're not even in the class, fool.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Brandy?
I was just saying I love Mariner putting the Genesis device in a seat and putting a seatbelt on it. Where are those seatbelts all the rest of the time?
That's a good point.
Use them.
We've seen this bridge design. I think that's like kind of like the bridge I'm in, but it's like similar to the Enterprise D battle bridge.
Yeah,
like,
it very much reminded me of
my
the battle
co-pilot.
bridge.
No exploding.
Yeah, it's just so awesome. Just keeps calling her GD, has gendered her as a she. It's like, girl, they are after you.
Yeah, he is obsessed with you.
He is obsessed with you. And just
that was great.
I love that she did that, because that is the kind of thing that you do to keep yourself sane when you don't have a sounding board. So you become your own sounding board, but you project it onto another object. And the Genesis device was perfect.
Volleyball.
Wilson the volleyball. Exactly.
No, I have conversations with my dog all day long.
Oh, me and my cat, we have some amazing conversations. So yeah, I get that.
I like that she has the joystick too. From the everybody, when you fly the ship by yourself, you get the joystick.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. I don't know like how else you would pilot it from the captain's chair. So I'm glad that they thought about that to stick that in there. We've seen her do similar stuff before, like in the opener to season 2 when she was in the holodeck and she was escaping the Cardassians.
Oh yeah.
Now we know why she hates the Cardassians so much, because they killed her role model.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Fatheree and I were talking about how the other Nova Squad person, Jean Hajar, it's like, I wonder if she had a hard time during the Dominion War, because it sounds so much like Jem Hadar.
Yeah.
Like every time she mentions her name, people get PTSD. Like,
yeah, Jem Hadar, where?
Oh, the poor Jem Hadar. I feel so bad for them. They did not ask to become that.
No.
Yeah, I don't know what a happy ending for the Jem Hadar would be. It's like you were all like engineered to be crackhead soldiers that no one will ever love or care about. But I don't know. We got you another job doing something else, and to earn your narcotic you have to live. I don't know. It's just like, yeah, like being like genetically designed to be a Jem Hadar is just like, yeah, you're kind of just screwed. I don't know how to help them. I guess we'd have to like
lower decks. It would be like they become nannies or something.
Like Bashir tried to cure them, and he was like, "It's impossible. It's like built in like their DNA. There will never be a cure." It's kind of his conclusion. But well, I don't know. He didn't give up. He was still Miles had to blast his stuff to get him to stop working. So maybe someday, maybe one day, a doctor will figure it out. Jim Hadar. I'm not gonna give up hope on y'all. So
Yeah.
But maybe they should have like some Dominion people. They should have like some Jim Hadar who tried to like break free from the Dominion. You'd think that'd be like an easy place to find disgruntled lower deckers for Locarno's Nova fleet.
Yeah.
But I like
I did like the comment that Maquis would like to have a word when he talks.
Yeah. The writer's room, like predicting the internet comments. Like, okay, this like some nerd will be like, well, the Maquis would like to have a word about that. So let's just go ahead and give that line to Boimler now.
Yes.
They did in the crossover when he went to Strange New Worlds. He was basically having like all the fan reactions. Like, I didn't know Spock and Chapel had a relationship before the original series. Like all the things we were all saying, it was just like,
if you had watched
Boimler
the animated series, you would have. No.
Yeah, Boimler, brush up on your TAS.
Yeah.
If TOS is those old scientists, we got to think of something for TAS. You know, those amazingly old scientists.
Well, we had an idea once for a time travel episode where they go into the era of TAS, and it was time travel. What was it? Time anomaly syndrome. It's like why does everything look so weird? It's like, oh, it's time anomaly syndrome. It happens when you time travel. In my head, I was like they were drawn like TAS, which would have been fun. But
I like it.
Yeah, Muds love crystals.
I like that they pitted the Romulans and Ferengi against Mariner in kind of the chase, because I don't know, we're just kind of used to them as baddies. But yeah, the ice ring, I think that looked really neat, and that was a different environment. It was, I guess, a little bit like when Odo and the Wayun clone were hiding from the Dominion in some ice, but do you have anything else on like the Mariner and Nova fleet stuff? Where we talk about like the Cerritos going to Orion.
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think so.
So we have the Orion mission to secure a warship to get through the Trinar Shield, and we check in with Erica. So I guess she's like head of the family now. She's running the fifth largest crime syndicate organization in the syndicate.
Yeah.
I wonder that she mentions like it's not a copy, not like borrowing a copy of Sword and Scabbard. So I assume that's one of the trashy Orion Hollow novels that that guy
Guns and Ammo.
Well, I was thinking like dude on DS9. I think his name was Lek. Lek. I might be thinking of a Ferengi. That sounds a bit Ferengi-ish.
I think that's a Ferengi. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Orion dude at DS9. But he was saying like, I grew up in Ohio, and everything I know about Orion culture, I just learned from like the trashy Hollow novels with big boobs on the cover, so, something like that. So I was like, was Sword and Scabbard one of those? But the trial by barter by combat, very Orion. What an Orion idea.
I also like when Rutherford says, "No can do, 10D2."
Yeah, that was a good line. That was a very, very, I don't know, Ruthy
very
line.
Rutherford.
That's a very Rutherford, yeah.
And she is the younger sister, so that fits.
10D2, yeah. We've talked a lot about, Aaron and I have, how like Maglimo doesn't really he hasn't done much on the show. They've really like shown a lot of these senior staff, have like their moments being like really good at their jobs. And Maglimo, I guess, he almost has his moment to shine here. I thought it was actually funny when he still ends up losing the fight. But what did y'all think of his battle?
I thought it was hilarious. Because
anybody who has allergies knows that that's actually a really good defense.
It is. It really is. Because I do have allergies to certain things, and it can be completely debilitating to have an allergy attack of such kind. Just him fluffing was so funny.
Fluff her down. It's embarrassing.
Just do it. And then the as he
Yeah.
does it, just
What made me crack up is when like because it takes him a while to figure it out, you know. It's like finally like dumbass McLemo, he's like, oh, like she's like sneezing and coughing. I can like okay, I got her now, and he like runs out and just starts punching, and like his punches do nothing to her. Like she does, I don't even know if she notices.
probably not.
But yeah, it is sad. Like I like this though because I was like, oh, cool. I was wondering how McLemo would win, and look, this cool way he like puffed up, kind of like Dr. Phlox, but even funnier. So you know, but then when she passes out on top of him and they lose, I was like, oh, what a heartbreaking development. I did not see this coming.
Yeah, we all thought that McLemo was going to win after he fluffed his down, and then
I still don't know
I'm just
how
like,
they.
ah.
I don't know sure why she won just because she's on top of him. I guess I don't know. It's like she seems
Yeah.
to be passed
Yeah, I
out
guess
and he's not.
Like in wrestling, when like one wrestler pins the other
pins.
wrestler, I
Yeah.
think that's what
Yeah.
I watched wrestling as a kid enough, I guess, that I didn't even question it.
Me
I
either.
just assumed those were
really.
the rules.
Mhm.
I do like that they still use the symbol from the animated series for the Orions. Which
So
is cool.
I'm glad you bring that up, Aaron. I was about to ask you a question about that. I'm now wondering, I think the Orions or Orions
Orion, yeah.
in the animated series, I think they might have been part of Tindy's family, or at least like in service to them, because
That's interesting.
they had this banner and they had like the same ship that picks her up at the end of the episode.
Same
And
type of yeah.
we've never seen that logo in Lower Decks except for that guy who was working at the pirate base that they went to in season
but also
2.
was related to her.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like his cousin.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
as soon
maybe
as
it's a
she showed
family
up,
crest. That would be interesting.
So that could be like the Tindy symbol. And then the Orions might have been like they were either part of her family or they had been like employed by her family. Maybe, I don't know. Just a thought. Just
They're
throwing
trying to
that out
pronounce
there.
it like the way that they did when, like at the old home country or something like that.
I've thought about just like, I'm just going to be the jerk who just calls Orions and Star Trek Orions. And I'm like, there's no way I'd be able to like keep doing that. I'd like every time I'd be like, Orion slave, Orion slave. I would just like stumble over myself nonstop. So I think that would be funny if someone did that. I mean, it's canonically acceptable.
It should be mentioned at some point or something. I thought they were going to use it with the guy from Ohio at some point. You know, where he called it Orion or something like that. It's like, what?
Real Orions like to say Orion or like something like that.
Yeah,
sounds like them. But yeah, the heartbreaking development of to save Mariner, we must give up Tindy. So, although I think it'll be okay. I think within 2 episodes of season 5, I think she'll be back on the Cerritos. I might be wrong. But I think season 5, episode 3 will open and Tindy's already back on the Cerritos.
We need to clip this out and then play that back.
We can. But I don't know. Well, yeah, what do y'all think about that?
I figured it was going to be something that we were not going to like. Basically, when they went to Orion in the first place, because I thought, we've seen what Erica's like, and she's not going to let anybody off easy, nor is she going to just be willing to help. And she has good reasons for it. She's in all these negotiations with other people, and she can't be seen colluding with the Federation and Starfleet. So I do enjoy the fact that she double crosses them in a very Orion-like way by giving them this ship that she promised they could borrow, and it doesn't work at all.
Yeah, that's a real jerk move. It's like, I get that like you want to show your Orion strength and I don't know, shiftiness or whatever Orions take pride in, but like, did you really have to like give your sister like the lamest warship that you had? Like, you couldn't find like something like at least like the engines worked on it or anything.
Well, they mentioned they needed the firepower. I mean, they literally did say that they needed a specific thing for that shield.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel kind of like Derica is still kind of punishing Tendi a little bit, but also she cannot be seen as favoring even a family member in any kind of negotiation. So she kind of goes overboard in making it seem like she doesn't really care what's going to happen.
Okay. That's a real, like, kind of political, kind of, I don't know,
Yeah.
pragmatic. That's a very, like, pragmatic move. I like that, though. It shows that she's kind of has, like, the cutting to be a
And the
ruthless
solution
leader.
that Tendi came up with was very Tendi.
Mhm.
It just felt like yeah, that's totally what she would be selfless about it and offer herself up.
I did laugh at, like, Billups when he's kind of like Scotty, here in the Enterprise
Yeah.
called a garbage skull or whatever, and Andy, shut up! Like, we really
I love the
need
looks on
need
both
this.
Jack and Boimler. Like,
Yeah, they just say, "Oh no,
Oh,
no, no,
yeah,
no! Don't
yeah.
start this."
The Livik thing. What do y'all think of, like, the return
Livik.
of Livik,
Livik.
Rutherford's rival?
That's good. We thought that
think
he'd
it's
come
funny.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be the disgruntled lower decker on the Cerritos who was going to try to, before we knew it was Locarno, and it's just like the mystery ship going around. When
Oh.
we found out it was, kind of teaming up with lower deckers on those ships, I thought, oh, Livik will betray the Cerritos, but I was wrong. Instead, he dressed up as Mark Twain.
The fact that it was to Lynn that's
Suggested it?
presented the solution
Yeah.
just cracks me up, and it just really cements that she has become a lower decker. She does not she never belonged on that other ship. So-called a jerk, and so she's finally accepting that this is her place. These are her people.
Yeah, she's been a great addition to the show. I don't know.
Agreed.
I've praised her character pretty much like every episode she's been in, but yeah, it sounds like everyone's liked her. I haven't heard anyone be like, well, that's not true. I have seen some people say that, like, the addition of T'Lyn has led to, like, less Boimler stuff, and, like, less, like, Boimler and Mariner kind of doing stuff together. I feel like Boimler is kind of like, he's kind of like Rutherford as far as, like, screen time. I feel like he used to be kind of more the focus, or more like an equal to Mariner, and this season I think that might have shifted a little bit to focus on Mariner. But we talked to Mike McMahon earlier, and we're actually gonna have, like, that interview next week when we do the season 4 show where we talk about the entire season. And it sounds like we have more Boimler coming in season 5. But yeah, I feel like, like, Boimler and Rutherford weren't, even though, like, T'Lyn wasn't in every episode, I almost feel like T'Lyn kind of had, maybe just because everything she did was, like, new, we were seeing it for the first time, but I feel like she'd left a bigger impression this season than Rutherford or Boimler.
I think everybody could seem to have their episode, though. It's like, we had Rutherford and Tendi in the Ferengi episode. Yeah.
Parth Ferengi.
Ferengi's Heart Place.
There we go.
I don't know who in the writer room is a Garth Marenghi's Dark Place fan, but I salute you.
Yeah, it was a reference just for, I don't know how many people watch
just for
that
Jackie.
show,
Jackie.
just
I'm gonna stop.
I get called Jackie all the time.
Jackie, I was
Don't
like,
even worry
my
about
brain
it.
just like I am moving at like 3% of my normal.
No,
I just, like,
you would not believe how often people call me Jackie. I
have never done that before. I just wanted to put that out there.
No, he has not.
Also,
he has not ever done that before. So,
and I've not spelled your name incorrectly. And so,
yeah,
but yes, it's like they're doing it just for you.
Yeah, well, I wasn't the only one. There are other people who know of it. But if you have not watched Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, I strongly suggest that you do so, especially if you like British comedy, and especially if you like Matt Berry. So it's just really, it's really good satire, and makes me laugh on a regular basis. It's not. There was only one season of it, and so it's not a huge time investment. it can get kind of graphic as far as violence because it's based on like Stephen King's, what was it, Kingdom Hospital? Was that what it was?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
It's kind of a parody of that, and so
Oh,
weird stuff happens. And Garth Marenghi himself, of course, is the star of his show, and he's also a writer, a horror writer. Basically, he's
Okay.
aping Stephen King. And but he's the biggest Mary Sue you have ever seen. It's so much fun, I think.
Do you know where it's streaming?
You can find it on Prime Video if you have Prime Video.
Awesome.
I think that's
Okay.
the only place it is right now in the US, but I could be wrong on that.
Cool. Yeah, I hadn't heard about it until it was a joke in Lower Decks, but I'm curious now.
That's why I think it's so amazing, is that it's putting all these people who didn't know anything about Garth Marenghi's Dark Place and putting this in their path and going, hey, you should maybe watch this. It's pretty funny.
It'd be funny if that's how they just do all season 5. They just like, you haven't
That's
seen
great.
this. Let's name this after that show.
Yeah. Well, the first time that I even looked at the title, I'm like, Garth Marenghi's Heart Place. Why does that sound oh. Oh, that was basically my reaction.
It's like Gene Hajar.
Yep. Exactly.
That actually might have been where the real life creation of Jim Hadar came from. It might have been
That would be funny.
the same person who thought up Jean. I can never remember her name, even though you just said it. But
Hajar.
Hajar, like maybe the same person who thought up Gene Hajar was also the same person who thought up Jim Hadar. I don't know, but I think with like the dueling twains thing though, like if that's gonna be like a recurring joke, I almost feel like they maybe should have. Well, I'll take that back. I was gonna say like maybe like they should have waited till like another season, but I feel like this like the last episode of the season had been like long enough. Like I kind of forgot about like the Mark Twain thing. You could bring it back, but I don't know if I would have done it like over like this like Livick and Rutherford. Like I'm not really sure what they were arguing about. Like this is one technobabble way to reboot the systems. Like no, it'd be a better technobabble way to do it this way. And
yeah, it felt like it was not used for the right purpose. I don't know. That was just.
But they need to use it again for like an argument that like it's actually like a big stake thing, and like the audience understands like this is option A and this is very clearly option B is a different thing, and these two people are like in conflict about this. But then they go and do the Mark Twain thing. Like I think
you would have had
like really
Riker and Data for like which way they were going to do when the ship explodes, when like we turn into Snell.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like. Any Star Trek moral quandary typically ends with the convenient like, oh, but we're so smart, we found a third option. So you just do like the Mark Twain thing right before you get the third option thing, and you could do like the same format. But yeah, I think you can do like you can do a big surprise payoff if you hold off on this joke and then bring it back at just the right time.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is that we don't know what the solution was that they agreed upon, the compromise. And my guess is that it's what we actually saw. They realized that neither of them had the right answer, and so the only answer was to hurl the ship at the shield.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess they didn't want to like blow the surprise of the the captain's yacht, and I do like that they held off on that, and like, so, oh, Boimler's in the captain's chair. What? That's so cool. And like all of that stuff.
And if you notice when he's in the captain's chair, if you go back to season 2, A Spy Humongous, when he's pretending to be the captain in that improv space, he does the exact same movements and everything. And it's so funny that it's like, okay, I've seen that before.
His captain training, he retained all of that. That is so neat.
He just used the opposite arm. That was, I went back and did a screenshot, but yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't the first time he like practiced that. He does that.
Yeah.
I mean, like we know in the closets he's like doing like pretend captain's logs. So
I think he's not doing that as much anymore. Like practicing to be a captain, like the way he sits and stuff like that. I think he's learning how to be more in the moment and to just let things happen.
Yeah.
And I was so excited that he got picked to be acting captain because I am Boimler, for one thing. And for another thing, this has been his quest since the beginning of the series.
Yep.
And now he's actually had his moment in that chair, and it just made me really happy.
Yeah. I like that, like, he didn't get like overwhelmed by it. Like he was like oh, no, I got this. I'm prepared for this.
Yeah.
This is what I've been training my whole life for this.
I did like
like
at the
that.
end when like the ship gets bumped, he goes, ah! Just like it does this really quick like thing where he just gets flung over. Like,
Yeah.
you don't
I
ever
mean,
see
he's
him.
still Boimler. He's still,
Yeah.
you know, he's still gonna be him, but
Yeah. It was good physical comedy for animation.
Yeah, it's what I would have done. You know, ship gets hit, I fall down. Yeah, that would be me because I am Boimler.
When Mariner goes into the ion storm, like I think that's when I wanted to have like more of like an argument between Locarno and his like Nova fleet. I think I just wanted like one of them to be like no, you're being like a selfish asshole, and no, I'm not gonna follow you. He gives up on them like pretty quick though, and when they won't listen to him, and he's guess I don't know. I guess I'll just have to do it myself, kind of thing. But I like the conversation, the dialogue we get back and forth between Locarno and Mariner. You know what that reminded me of? I just now thought of this, but even though like, you know, visually we're kind of just watching a recreation of the Wrath of Khan, even like some like the same shots. But the much more interesting thing to me was the back and forth between the two of them, and I think it's kind of like in the other Star franchise. You know, a lot of times when they do their lightsaber battles, it's real like in some of the movies that make that more about like a conflict between like two characters, and the conversation that takes place during the fight is really more of the spotlight. Like when I focus on that stuff here, like I like it a lot more. But I like the Khan stuff was just unfortunately just Picard season 3 did so much Wrath of the Khan types. It's like Star Trek Into Darkness tried to, I know that was 10 years ago, but still it tried to kind of like retell the movie. It's like we've seen a lot of Wrath of Khan stuff. Like I don't know if we need more Matara Nebula battles, but the conversation at least was really fun, just getting in both of their heads. What do y'all think?
I really liked it, and I knew Mariner was not going to give in at any point. She would die if she had to keep this device from getting back into his possession.
Yeah.
And he again is just so full of himself that he can't see anything else. And he is so confident that he's going to win, he's going to get what he wants at all stages, that when people aren't agreeing with him, he just cuts them out. Because it's always been just the Nick Locarno show. There has never been any co-stars in that show. It's just always the Nick Locarno show. And so I appreciated the back and forth between them. And I think a lot of times Mariner, while being a little worried that she was going to be able to pull any of this off, was also just kind of like, oh, really? Just inside her head, just doing mental eye rolls a lot of the time, because he's
I also like I barely knew you.
it's like
we weren't friends.
And he's saying all this stuff like she was a member of Nova flight, and she wasn't. And this is what people with big egos do. They rewrite their own history to make themselves look better, to justify their own actions.
And they start to
It does remind me of a certain politician that,
Yeah, exactly.
for sure.
It never turns out well in the end, y'all. The bill always comes due. The bill always comes due.
And at the end, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Aaron.
I was gonna say, I for half a second, I'm like, oh, he's not going to shoot her. No, he is, because he would totally do that. And had she not beamed out, she would have gotten zapped. So who knows if it was on stun or kill? But
when the Romulans didn't want to pursue her, he's like, oh, well, your Romulan captains you betrayed are going to be, they're famously forgiving types of people, right? So, they remind us there, like, yeah, this guy's like a good manipulator, because like we saw him like doing it with Wes in The First Duty. And yeah, like he keeps people, you get the impression he's the guy, he keeps people around, like he views people as like, is this person like gainful to me? Like what, like
Yep.
me having a relationship to them, like what's that going to do for me? And then like when you're not like a convenience to them, then yeah, you probably are quickly discarded.
He's
Yeah.
charismatic, but he does not know how to lead.
Typical narcissist, really.
But I thought it was like a fun surprise that they, we don't know exactly what the plan is, and we just figure it out when we see it. And oh, they do something fun with the captain's yacht for maybe like the first
We
time
rarely
ever.
see people use that, though.
And I mean, they used it to seeing Gilbert and Sullivan in Star Trek Insurrection, so that some people might call that a fun use of the captain's yacht. But
it's rarely used. It isn't used that
Yeah.
often.
Lower Decks used it once before, and then used it here. So it's like,
Yeah.
they've already used it. They've used the captain. I mean, before this, Star Trek Insurrection used it once, so they've now
Yeah.
become the most captain's yacht usingest Star Trek thing. For whatever that's
Why
worth.
not use it? Like, yeah, it's a perfectly
It's a-
good ship.
Perfectly good ship, yeah. I'd
Yeah.
use it. If I had a yacht, I'd use it. A captain's yacht, I guess.
A lot.
I'm assuming it's like supposed to be where she can also do smaller diplomatic missions where she goes down and it's more, not a shuttle, but it's something that, I don't know. It just feels like that. It could be like that.
It's a super Star Trek idea for the captain and all the senior officers to go off on a side quest and like leave a lieutenant junior grade in command of the ship, though. That rang very true. That felt right.
Yeah.
And fun to see Boimler, of course. I saw someone say like there's a full grade lieutenant right behind him, but someone on the first reaction stream said that last night, I think.
Oh,
But it's like, yeah, she's a full lieutenant, but like you don't have to leave
She's
the ship in
engineering.
command of that. Yeah, like you sometimes like someone with like Worf and Data were both outranked by Crusher, but like they were frequently left in command of the Enterprise instead of her because they had the command training. So if that freaked anyone out, it's okay. Like you don't have to worry about that.
It didn't bother me at all. In fact, it made me think about episode 1 of the very first episode of the series and how Captain Freeman couldn't even get Boimler's name right back then.
Oh, he could barely walk on the bridge without having like an anxiety attack when like
yeah.
when Ransom's trying to talk to him. And he's like, "Ensign, what are you doing here?" And it's like, he has like the weird like echoey sound effect, like he can't like, hear what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she basically asks him to spy on Mariner. And she still doesn't get his name right when he comes back and reports. And it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
And
now
it's
she's like, here, Brad, I'm gonna leave the ship. Here's the keys to the Cerritos. I'm leaving you in command.
And they even had that nice little exchange. It's like, I basically make sure you get home. And she's like, I plan on it.
The other reason why I think that the Trinar are set up for something is because they take the time to show us that they beam off of Locarno's ship. Like they take time to make sure the audience knows, okay, the Trinars didn't blow up. They're still active players out there. So
yeah,
it has to be for something. Like Section 31 Boimler's got to come back someday. And
I'm waiting for that.
Come back.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that because we know he's out there. We know William Boimler is still out there. So they're just saving that up for another season because they don't show us stuff like that and then not pay it off. It may take them a season or two to pay it off, but they will pay it off.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things that we said is like, it's nice that they actually do remember those things, like compared to some shows that might pull that in and then just never see it again.
Yep.
So,
well,
or like if they set up conspiracy bugs that take over Starfleet and then say like they're still out there somewhere, maybe someday we'll cross their path again. Still waiting on them.
I feel like if anybody's going to bring them back, it'll be Lower Decks.
I would
just
love
do
that.
one episode. Just bring back. Just do an episode called like Loose Ends, and you start. It opens.
That
it
would be
opens
great.
with
It's like
Gary
Caves.
7. Right at the beginning, it's like Gary 7, like assignment Earth, and it's like I'm here to clean up all the loose ends, and it's just.
You know what I would
one of
love?
them.
I would love what they should do. My thought, anyway. They should make a new series of short treks and do all of these loose ends. Each one gets a short trek.
That would be cool.
That would be brilliant. You can
Yeah,
keep
I
that
They,
going
they
for a
wouldn't
while.
want us to tie up everything because people would want to have a story eventually one day.
Yeah, but bring back the weird
There's a lot of
bugs
yeah.
and stuff. And honestly, when I as a kid, I remember that episode vividly. As an adult, when I go back and watch it, I'm like, good lord, that was graphic for the time.
That
Mhm.
was the first episode of Star Trek I ever watched ever.
Oh
Like,
man.
Oh wow.
I knew Spock and Kirk just from like pop culture, but I never watched. Like I remember like seeing like stuff for Star Trek 4 on TV and being like, "Oh yeah, the dude with the ears and his friend and they normally like work in space and this is like a weird movie where they're walking around on Earth for some reason." But I didn't know much. But then like the next thing I saw like Star Trek after that was the episode Conspiracy, right at the part where they're trying to get like Riker to eat bugs. And I saw from there until like when him and Picard blow the dude up, and I'm like, this is the most insane, intense show I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know how people can like watch this stuff. Like, I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack just thinking about this show. Like, what is going on? But yeah, that was
And then you
that
get
was a
one
really
that's
weird
just
one.
him drinking tea,
I
and
was
waiting
like the
for
only,
his old girlfriend in the Paris cafe.
was the only little kid going around like, man, Star Trek: The Next Generation. That is an intense show. Like, oh my, have you seen this thing?
Yeah, that's why you can't judge any series by one episode.
Yeah,
Very true.
exactly.
Very true. But we can judge Nick Locarno as a fiendish murderer because he tells Mariner point blank, like, no, I am actually willing to kill you to
Yeah.
save my, I don't know, Nova Fleet vanity project. So
Yeah, that's it. It's ego above all else. That is a narcissist right there.
yeah, he felt
Yep.
entitled to a perfect life. And but yeah, I guess there are a lot of people
Yeah, it's
that
entitlement.
yeah, they feel
that's a lot of it.
cheated.
Yeah.
The Ferengi paywall gag though, like that was I have complaints with some things in the second half of this episode, but the Ferengi paywall, I loved that so much. That was great. That was one of the best gags of the show.
Yeah, and
I
it
do have
wasn't strips of latinum. It was bars of
bars
latinum.
of platinum. Yeah.
Like, no, I know
Bars.
if you're trying to stop this thing from detonating, you're really gonna want it to stop. So I'm asking you for a lot of money. This like, highway robbery, like no apologies. Like I admit that I'm doing it, but you know, like you want to not blow up. I got you bent over a barrel, so you're gonna pay up 2 bricks or you're gone.
Yeah.
There's one thing at the end that I have a little bit of an issue with, but we'll get to that, I'm sure.
No, let's talk about like our ending. We get like the big Wrath of Connie explosion. And then what do we have in the setup? Vassery's like, oh, we're gonna have this Locarno planet now. His molecules are in there.
That's the thing that I have an issue with. It's like Josh Albert's dad's gonna have some words about that. I would feel like it's like naming it after him seems well. One, it feels like maybe it's going to come back. Like maybe we'll visit Locarno at some point in the future or whatever they called it. Was it Locarno
Yeah,
or
They
Yeah,
called
okay.
it Locarno, just Locarno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it was going to be, they were hoping to establish it as a sanctuary for refugees. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
That's
They
the
actually-
antithesis of what he would want. I love it.
True.
Yeah,
It looks
it's
like they're the year is 0.873 Earth years or something like that. So it's like it's almost the same rotation.
yeah, so it's like a 9-month year, I guess, or
Yeah.
something like that. I would hang out on Locarno. It looks like a cool green planet, but if they're worried about refugees, like I hope like some Romulans like start relocating.
Oh yeah,
relocate over here.
maybe that's what they were. Could that be a reference to that? Has that
could
already
be,
started at that point?
but I mean, like
it's only like 3 years till Picard season 1, right?
it's very muddy. It's a little bit. I know some people like don't care about timeline stuff, so this might be boring, but for people who do, like it's weird because like some stuff's explained in the novels, which aren't canon, but the year 2381 is the year that this episode is in, and we know like at that point Picard is already an admiral. He's off the Enterprise E, and he is actively working on this project with the Romulans, but I guess it's not like public knowledge because like the Romulans are embarrassed that they're gonna have like their star go nova, so they don't want like their own people to freak out. So it's like it's unknown like who knows and who doesn't know that that's happening. But it's kind of like y'all clearly didn't tell enough people if like not everyone evacuated. So
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it sounds like a bit of an ego thing. You don't want to look weak, and so you don't tell the truth, and then a lot of people die.
I will say this though. Here's an opportunity to promote Star Trek Prodigy. # We saved Star Trek Prodigy.
Yeah.
Aaron Welke has promised that if there is a season 3 of that show, he would like to kind of have the Prodigy characters overlap more with some of the events leading up to Picard. So we actually might have an opportunity to clarify a lot of that stuff in a future season of Prodigy. So make sure everyone watches that when it hits Netflix, okay?
Yes. So we can do season 3.
I will so be watching that several times. Even if I can't actually, watch it, I will have it on so that it's streaming, that it's running, so that Netflix will know that this show is special and that people will support it.
I currently like don't even have Netflix. It's like the only streaming service I feel like I don't have right now, but I will when Prodigy is on there, I will sign up for whatever like their top 4K whatever plan for like the month that Prodigy arrives. I will do like whatever like their premium level is for at least 1 month. I'm not saying I'll stick around, but hey, if you were giving me like a new season of Prodigy every month, then maybe I would. So
I think Aaron Welke would be very tired at that
point. Get some Red Bull in him.
Well, he's staying awake with his child anyway, so like maybe he could just do it because he's awake.
Just because he's awake doesn't mean he's cognizant.
No, I don't.
might not be the best stories, but we'll get some scripts. Yeah.
Why is this all about childcare? I don't understand.
That's funny. There's the comic book artist. I kind of don't want to say his name because it turned out he was kind of a jerk, and I don't want to promote his work. But a guy I used to be a fan of, and I was reading like a lot of his books, and he was working on like so many different titles at the same time. And I noticed like every storyline there'd be like these characters like walking around talking about like, "Oh my god, I'm so tired." I'm like, why is Beast and X-Men talking about like, "Oh my god, I'm so tired"? And it's like, oh, because this dude is really tired. Is writing this. But
that's funny.
And now people are gonna be like, "Oh, who's the comic book writer Fatheree doesn't like?" Yeah, well, have fun investigating. But yeah, what else do we have at the ending? I guess like Mariner's back, yay! Let's hug Mariner. But now Tindy is gonna leave. Boo! Let's be sad.
I did like the chanting. It's like we did that a lot,
I needed that though, because otherwise I was gonna be like, yeah, this is the part where the show chants lower decks. So it's like they're like, yes, you two have figured out our formula, but it would be unsatisfying if they didn't do that. So it's kind of like having your cake.
I thought it was cute though, the way that he did that. Yeah,
I did the same thing with like to Lynn doing like the rejection to Sokel. Like I think I said
her
that.
iPhone.
Brandy, I might have mentioned that when you were with us at the before the season when we were just talking about like the top 5 things we wanted. I think I might have said like T'Lyn might even like at some point reject being called back to the Vulcans.
Agreed. Yeah.
But I'm
we should go
glad
back
that
and look at those predictions and talk about them next week.
We should do that before next week. That'll be fun. Yeah. But even though, like I said, like I thought this was coming, I was very satisfied when it happened. And when I have like a verbal like response, if I like laugh at something, like I try to like make a note of that if I laugh out loud, or like I said like F yeah out loud when it showed just her hit ignore on her iPad. So that was cool. I loved it.
Yeah, that's the best revenge. It's like, oh no, you sent me here, and now I'm staying because, now everybody wants me, but guess what, baby, I'm home.
And it's something that we also talked with Mike about today, Aaron. That will be in the interview next week. But I guess like a theme of characters unburdening themselves, and you mentioned. No. Freeman no longer worried about trying to impress the brass, get a command of a better ship. She's unburdened herself from that. Look how much happier she is. Like a better leader, better mother. Just generally like a more chill, cool functional person.
Yeah.
So, and we see Talin unburdened here. It's like, man, like I need to learn how to unburden myself. I need to learn some lower decks unburdening.
You just need somebody to script your life. That will take care of
Yeah,
it.
Mike McMahon, come write my life. Yeah, give me an arc with some development and then a satisfying conclusion.
Oh, if only it were that easy.
The Orion ship I mentioned,
Yeah.
I knew when I saw that, I was like, oh, Aaron's gonna like this. I liked it too as a ship nerd and also a TAS fan.
Yes.
Because it definitely looks more like the TAS ship or the ship in TAS than the first one that we saw did.
Mm-hmm.
They were obviously in the same lineage, but this one is like clearly much more like that.
Yeah. I love how little they changed on it. It's just like
it
no,
actually
we're
worked,
actually
which is interesting.
Yeah, it does. It was like, yeah, we're proud of this 1970s design. We're not embarrassed. We're not gonna try to alter it or pretend it's something else.
Well, for the most part, Bob actually designed some pretty cool stuff. It's just like that he's able to do. We don't have to think about like how is this going to hold up as a model? Can the wing actually go out that far or whatever? Like you just draw it. So that was cool.
Yeah, it's like,
And he
yeah,
used
that
to
kid
do-
on Saturday morning ain't gonna care. Just draw something that looks cool.
Well, he also used to illustrate for the Navy and the Air Force. So it's like I feel like he had some lineage he had some knowledge of just ships in general. So
The Tindy and Rutherford hug, they're very like tearful goodbye. Like they take time to like show like that's like that's a little bit of a more serious goodbye than with anyone else. So I'm still on the team hashtag Tinderford, but yeah, I want to see them in a romance together, like full on. I don't need them to be married with kids, is what I keep saying. But like I want them to at least be boyfriend and girlfriend for at least like the last episode of the show, at the very least. But give me that someday.
Yeah, we've waited 4 years now, guys.
Brandy, me and Aaron took note of it. I'm sure you probably did too. But when Rutherford was telling everyone that him and Dr. T had a cave baby, did you notice like Tindy's reaction when she's like, "What? You had a baby with Dr. Tiana?"
Yeah, that was like, way more intense than the other people.
She was like way more invested with who Rutherford has babies with. Like she cared way more than they all cared, but Tindy definitely cared the most.
Yeah.
Oh, she's been displaying this behavior since forever, since like season 1. But and we don't see it super often, but we did see it in what was the episode's name? Strange Energy, when Rutherford has lost his memory because his
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when
she
didn't want him to go out with Barnes.
Yeah. And that's exactly, they're hugging and she says, "And don't date Barnes." He just has this look like, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been going on for ever.
Yeah.
And it's so cute though that neither one of them want to cross that bridge, that they're just so happy the way they are, that they're not even considering the fact that they are in a romance. They're just not doing the romance part yet.
Yeah, the show kind of, I don't know. Are they dancing around it, or are they like trying to like show it to, like, here, we're gonna like rub your face in it for a little bit just to like let you know that we're aware of this too, but we're just not ready to do it. But I mean,
I appreciate that they didn't just
on.
Instantly put them together. I think this is more satisfying.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And realistic, honestly.
Yes.
Randy, will you say the Ferengi episode again?
Parth Ferengi's Heart Place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But that episode, like at first, like I was like really happy with it. It's like, oh, the show is acknowledging there's something there. There's a connection there. And then I was like, oh, is the show just being like, oh, but our solution to this is we're just gonna want them to be friends forever? But I'm like, no, they're clearly like gonna build up to something more, right? But like, I'm not convinced of that, so I'm always like asking other people. Like, I want like reassurance. Like, I just want someone like, yes, they're gonna get together, Fatheree. You don't have to worry about this.
Yeah.
Well, no. Early on, people thought about Boimler and Mariner getting together. And it's just like, that.
Which I could
clearly
now.
They're not back then. I couldn't either, but like now for sure not.
They're brother and sister at this. Like they're like that's their dynamic.
I do wish for a suitable partner for Brad. I really do.
Yeah.
So, because really he hasn't had that much luck in love. And his last girlfriend was actually in love with an alien that was in the back of his head. So it was just, you know, I just want everybody to be happy is basically what I want. So
Did you see
it
her,
doesn't.
by the way, Brandy? And she appeared on screen for a
Oh yeah.
blink and you miss it instant this season in the Gucci episode of a few badgies more when
Mhm.
it showed the Vancouver for a split second.
Yep. Really, really fast. I did notice. So I was like, was that Barb? Yeah. Anyway, they don't have to put it on screen. I can write my own fan fiction.
Yeah, I'm so worried about them. Like
Are you
they
shipping
must
Talin
know
and
that they're
Boimler
right.
together?
Yeah, it's like, they have to know that
I'm
they're right for each other. Like they're not even real. Like I don't know why I'm so worried about like them not finding each other. It's like they're gonna be okay. I mean, maybe they
because
won't be, but it's,
yeah,
They don't exist,
because
so it doesn't matter.
yeah, it doesn't matter.
these characters have become near and dear to us, and we are invested in
Yes,
them,
I
and we
I
want
care
them.
more about them than some people I know in my personal life. I guess.
I think they've done
Agreed.
studies about that they're, the part of your brain that you use with an actual person is the same thing that you do when you invest in a character or something like that. So it is very, very real
I like this comment
in that
from
sense.
Linda Marks. She says, I like slow burn, but I think they'll have to stop the dance and get them together at one point. And I agree, Linda. I like a
Yeah.
slow burn too, but it's like, okay, at some point you gotta move to the next step. So
I really feel like they're going to do that this next season.
Yeah.
yeah,
This time
so-
apart is going to show them the error of their dawdling, I guess.
I think some big things might happen in season 5 because we don't know how long the show is gonna go, but it's possible final season next year. But I think just they were like promoting people to lieutenant now. It kind of shows like the show is confident. They're not afraid to like make changes. They're gonna you're kind of like the Strange New Worlds thing, of like taking big swings. Like we're not afraid of taking big. It's like I don't think Lower Decks is afraid either, and I think that there's they kind of established, I don't know, kind of like this comfortable space to work in the first couple of seasons, and then in season 3 when they started like, we're going to reference our own history as much as we reference other shows, kind of stuff like that. It really felt like it kind of like become its own animal, found like its own identity. And I think that season 4 had more, I guess, bold moves, game changing moves than 3. So I think 5 will have even more than 4.
That's what I really loved about the flashback, or not the flashback, the kind of mirroring of Boimler pretending to be a captain in season 2. In this season, it's like, oh, you're referencing your own stuff, and it's like clear what that was about. So,
or even like in season 1 in Veritas, when we saw like Tendi went on like that accidental secret Black Ops mission to Romulus and was like a freaking badass, beating up the Tal Shiar and stuff, and we were like,
yep.
How the hell did she do that? And it's like,
Now we know.
well, it's all explained now. So it's, yeah,
a
lot of Mariner's behavior. It's like, well, if she hates being in Starfleet so much, why is she in Starfleet? It's like, well, just keep watching the show. Like now we know. So
yeah.
Gotten a lot of questions answered. So the ending is a lot of fun for me because that's another thing that matches up with the show's history. In the first episode, when Tendi arrives on the Cerritos, when Boimler's kind of giving her a tour, at one point we see her stare out like that back window of like their hallway that they slept in while the ship is at warp, and it looked very similar to how she looked on the Orion ship, like leaving the Cerritos when it takes off at warp. And so it's like, oh, that's like a thing that she likes to do when she gets like a new ship, I guess, is look out like the back window. But it's like the cool little visual connection there.
They also got the red shift and blue shift correct, which was kind of cool.
Oh, that's nice. Well, they do the best warp effect on Lower Decks out of any Star Trek show ever, which is kind of funny. Something like so visual like that, but the animated comedy got it better than all the other shows, in my opinion. Though, but I like the warp effect here.
I love this determined look on her face too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that confidence of like, you got this.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
Aaron, you told me off mic, you told me that the ending kind of felt like a movie ending.
Yeah, it felt very cinematic, especially because we didn't just cut back to credits. It sort of like merged into them, and the music was not the standard. Yeah.
I think that just having like a different end credit sequence than normal, with like the the warp filled and then like the credits playing over that, and the
We watched at the
super
very end thinking
victorious
if maybe
music.
there was a cut scene, but there was not.
Same.
Well, they
Same.
gave us a post-credit scene last year with
Yeah, that's why
Badgie.
we're like, okay.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think that's everything I had on the episode. Do y'all have any final thoughts?
I'm just
Nope.
excited for next year.
Yep.
We like to end things with the Gorn eggs section of the show, where I go over the Easter eggs, in jokes, and continuity connections we thought were worth mentioning. So we had
And apologies for not doing a Gorn egg video this week. I am just lucky to be sitting upright at this point.
But y'all saw the beautiful Orion ship, right? Like that's the animated series connection. So I suspect if there had been a video, that would have been something Orion ship.
No, actually, I would have done the thing about Brad and his stance, because we did the Orion ship sort of before already.
I was gonna say, like, we kind of already covered that, so I
Yeah.
think you're good. But the stance is a good one. I like that.
Because it's a little more subtle.
I guess the use of Nova Squad was not very subtle. It was very like, look at all these familiar faces. But it was cool to finally see Josh Albert for the first time ever. So put a face to a name. But yeah, not featured in the episode was
Jean Hajar.
Hajar. Okay. One of these days I'll get it. You
And
can see
her
in
actual name is it was something, and now I don't remember. It's very interesting. Like Walker Brandt, that's what it is.
Oh yeah.
So her first name is Walker.
Well, we asked Mike McMahon a fun question today, though, about what was it like getting Shannon Phil back. So I guess we can talk about that next week. Come back next week, y'all, and in the Mike McMahon interview, and trying to find an actor who hasn't worked in the industry since 1995. And that was interesting to talk to him about. So, and thank you, Rachel, for suggesting that.
Yeah, that was a great question.
He seemed to have like a lot of fun talking about that too. So be sure that you come back next week. But yeah, Will Wheaton as Wesley, of course, Robert Duncan McNeil, his second time on Lower Decks. So that was fun. And if you pay attention, you do see, I think we said you see Jean Hajar. Did I do it?
Yep, that's
awesome.
Correct.
Okay, you do see her like running away from the group. Like
she waves
she's
and
like,
then just
yeah, maybe she's like running late to class or something. But also
Boothby-esque.
Yeah, eagle-eyed viewers might spot a Boothby doing some gardening next to a cation. There's Jean Hajar right there running away from the rest of Nova Squad. Like, she was chatting to them, and then she like runs this way and they walk that way. But
we tried to figure out if the other two people were anybody we knew, but they're just background extras, we think.
Mm-hmm.
And cool to see Boothby on screen for, I guess, like the first time since Voyager, and you can debate if that counts or not because it's not like real Boothby. But Mariner, Cadet Mariner, she is all like cute and excited and all like wanted to nerd out about all the cool Star Trek stuff, like Xindi and Preservers. They both got mentioned. The Preservers, they alien abducted a bunch of Native Americans one time, and the Xindi blew up Florida. Star Trek is weird.
Yeah.
I like to use the xenohistory. That's hard to say. Xenohistory. Like, you seem to be doing fine with it. It doesn't.
Yeah,
Doesn't
like
seem
there's
like
a lot of
that
weirder
hard.
words in your universe than that one.
Yeah. Like
but,
xenoanthropology. That's a mouthful, but it's still, I can say it.
I was happy to see Petra Aberdeen back on the Free Spirit, and I guess it takes two people to replace Mariner because she has two people on her ship now instead of just one. So
that makes sense, actually.
And like the dude on the ship, I think he's a Vulcan. He kind of looks like he has like some Vulcan eyebrow and some
maybe
pointed ear action. Maybe like he has like a little bit of like a weird Vulcan braided
bowl
ponytail under a bowl haircut. It's like a Vulcan bad boy, I guess. Vulcan bad boy archaeologist.
That would be an interesting Indiana Jones movie to see.
And we saw the towel guy version of a what do you call it? Child of Tombra.
Dharma. Oh, the Temerian.
Temerian, yeah, the Temerians. But I think we saw that before. Didn't we see the or no, I'm thinking of Klingon towel guys.
No, we
who
saw Klingon
in
guy,
Wage
yeah.
Douche. Okay, this is a new towel guy. So there's and Big Merp is sometimes in a towel. So there's a collection of towel men from various different planets. So that's who the Trinar are going to team up with, is the towel men.
The towel man.
Here's my question. Why a towel? Why not a robe?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say
Because-
like, why not just like walk around just totally nude? And
No, I don't want to see anybody's genitals. I'm just saying that you don't use a towel to dry off from a sonic shower, so why
Yeah.
not wear a robe?
because
Well, even
I don't know,
Boimler
you
is just
want
like, it smells musty in here or whatever. It's like, which doesn't make a lot of sense, because it's they're sonic showers
yeah.
or steamy or whatever. He's a
I guess because like Fedorov, he's the Cerritos towel guy, so we'll pick on him. We'll pick on Fedorov. But like you
don't know.
clearly want to get people's attention, so you're like, oh, I'm gonna like show off like how sexy I am by walking around with this towel, and people are gonna be like so worried, like, oh, is the towel gonna fall off of them? So they're all gonna be staring at me, worried the towel will fall off at any minute. So
yeah. You don't
think
have to dry yourself after a sonic
Yeah.
shower, I'm assuming.
so all of these towel men are just really attention whores.
Yeah, because you see plenty of people go into that same sonic shower with a robe on.
Yeah, so you're only doing it with a towel if you want to get attention. So
Yep. I think
Okay.
I think we've solved it. We've
cracked
solved
the
it.
code. Yeah, like I know Mike McMahon keeps apologizing to like Enterprise fans for not having like enough. He's like, it's hard to get 22nd century stuff in there, but like we got some cool like Enterprise Andorian style aesthetics on that Andorian crew. The Saber class runner ship, the USS Pissarro.
Yes, which is
Yes,
actually
that's-
named after
Fabio Pissarro.
Fabio, Fabio Pissarro, who worked on the Eagle Moss ships. I think he was a CGI dude. Was he doing like some of the models?
I think so. Yeah, he was like rebuilding some of the ones that weren't up to spec for creating models out of.
Okay, so yeah, he's like upscaling like the existing. I think he took like the ILM models
Mm-hmm.
and he did whatever to make them good enough quality to be used for like the modern.
Which is
3D
hilarious to
printer
think. It's like they have to
Eagle
fix an
Moss
ILM model to make it more high def. It's like that just seems odd.
Yeah, just what do you call it? Moore's law and computer power and all that over time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a cool tribute. He sadly like passed away. I think it was cancer, but it sounded like it was like pretty rapid, real tragic. Just last year, it was like a year ago when he died. They named the ship after him, and they gave it the NCC 52670 registry because his birthday was May 26, 1970. So really awesome tribute. I thought that was like really cool. The people up at Titmouse did a good job on the ship. It looked beautiful, and I think is like someone who's like a big ship nerd. If that was like his life's work, his life's passion, I think there could probably not be a finer tribute. And it was based on the Steam Runner class, but to make the scales work, they said it's the size of a Saber class, so we're just gonna call it the Saber Runner. So that's fine. Scales have been weird in Star Trek before. We've had to do this before to explain birds of prey and that whole thing. So yeah, it's fine. Moving on, we got some new Ferengi rules of acquisition. So both are new additions. I actually looked in the book, in Ira's book, to see if they were in here before. Let me double check. No, 91 is not in here, and what was the other one? 289. So yeah, neither. So these are both new, but we got 91. Your boss is only worth what he pays you. That one I agree with. That is true. And 289. Shoot first, count profits later. I would say stun first, but but yeah. So that's all I got on the Gornags. But we're gonna have a lot of fun. I think next week, just talking about like the entire season. Brandy, can Aaron and I invite you to come over again next week if you want to talk about like all of season 4 as a whole? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm totally in.
And I got a text message earlier today from our friend Jessie Gender, who said she will also be joining.
Oh, good.
It's gonna be a
Yay.
fun crowd, and Aaron and I have our interview with Mike McMahon in the can. So
Yep. Mike
it's gonna be
McMahon's in the
a
can.
big show. We got McMahon in a can, y'all. But we
Yeah.
also have Brandy and Jesse Gender. So
Yes.
yeah, it'll be a great time. Please come back. Hit subscribe if you're not subscribed because you don't want to miss that. So all that stuff, ring that bell, all that stuff. Subscribe on the oh, this is really important, y'all. If you're listening to the podcast, if you're listening to Drawn to Trek, you need to make sure that you're subscribed to Tex-Trek, and if you're listening to Tex-Trek, you need to make sure that you're Drawn to Trek. That you're subscribed to Drawn to Trek, because we're not always going to like overlap. We're going to have weeks where it's like we
combined our forces for like
Yeah.
for Lower Decks, and then we're gonna kind of
we're
split
going to
apart
saucer
again for a while.
separate.
Yeah, that's it.
So we're gonna like Prometheus separate. We're gonna shoot. We might have like multiple captains' yachts that shoot out. We might have like a first officer's yacht. We might have like a engineer's yacht. You know, we have like a chief medical officer's motorbike. We have like all kinds of vehicles you have not even thought of thinking of yet. So
That's the Lower Decks rowboat.
yeah. So, Chief Lundy gets the rowboat. So
Ooh.
and Honus the bartender. We'll reveal his vehicle next week as well. So another tease. But please come back. It's going to be a lot of fun. Y'all were a great audience for another season of Star Trek, and we got a lot of Trek to talk about next year too, with Discovery and Strange New Worlds and Prodigy and all kinds of stuff. So.
Oh, we're not getting Strange New Worlds next year. That's not going to
Yeah,
It'll
happen.
probably be.
Well, it'll go into production, and then like I'll be able to I can talk about. We'll probably get like a trailer or something we can talk about. There'll be something Strange New Worlds we'll talk about.
But it takes 9 months to do the digital effects on one
Yeah, they're not-
episode, so
Nope.
we're not going to see anything new from Strange New
No.
Worlds in 2024.
If they started shooting this year, we might get like, it might be like Strange New World season 3, like coming at Christmas or something like that. Would be like best case scenario. If like the strike ended today,
Yeah.
we might get like an episode out like right before Christmas. So yeah, it's probably not happening, but that's okay. We got a lot of
We'll
other
spend more
Trek to
time
talk
with
about.
books and comics and stuff. We'll
There we
dive
go.
into that stuff.
I get all the Star Trek comics, so yeah.
Or if there's not enough like Star Trek to check out, then just check out Star Trek content creators, because if they're not making like official content, then we'll just make our own content talking about their older content. So
We are still talking about doing on Drawn to Trek at some point a play along of the Star Trek Adventures animated series module that I worked on.
Ooh,
yeah.
nice.
So that
Very
was fun.
nice.
So we got a lot of stuff in the kitchen. We'll talk about that in the near future. But all of Lower Decks season 4 next week will be discussed. And like I was mentioning, Mike McMahon, Jesse Gender, Brandy's coming back, so it'll be a lot of fun. You should be there too. And until then, as always, live long and prosper, y'all.
And live.
Listen to the Tex-Trek podcast through Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or at tex-trek.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/tex-trek. And follow Fatheree on Twitter at TXTrek. Please support us by liking our videos and subscribing to our channel on YouTube. Thank you and take care.